Hello, this is Debbie McAllister, and this is Light Up Your Worth. I am so excited to present today's guest. You are just going to love him. Yes, ladies. Yes, I have a male here. You guys are going to want to go watch this one on YouTube too. He's a cutie. His name is Jarin Kenyon, and he's a motivational speaker, a life coach, manifestation teacher. He's a show co-host and entrepreneur. He's passionate about and an expertise on manifestation, cosmic human design, cosmic gene keys, and the science of the mind. He's the co-host of the show Rise, The Next Evolution, and the Cosmic Human Design Show. He's also passionate about quantum physics and Nikola Tesla's mathematics, sorry about that, and aspires to empower and educate millions of people in believing in and achieving their greatest dreams and aspirations. Welcome.
Thank you for having me on. Thank you so much. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm excited. I know I had to do the little shout out because, the ladies, they hear is women mostly, right? you're like the second guy. So Daniel is.
Oh, am I?
Yes, you're the second man. Yeah.
I'm not first. All right, good.
Yeah. Yeah. Daniel broke that down like the end of last season or the beginning of this season. I don't know. When you've taped so many shows, sometimes you're like, was that season 1 or season 2? Anyway. So I'm so excited to be here, that you're here, because I had reached out to you when I saw you through my mutual friend, Cindy, and she was talking about the cosmic human design. And I'm like, what in the world is cosmic human design? So I was like, wow, tell us.
Well, I think first of all, I have to start with human design. So some of us may have heard of human design. And before I get into any of the specifics, the general difference here is the astrology. So we are using, and what I'm going to be speaking of is the human design system in purity, so all that makes it up. The only difference is the data of the astrology that's imprinted into it, as to where the original human design is using tropical astrology, which is your mainstream astrology here in the West. People are aware of, they get their horoscopes and everything, and they see that they're, every 30 days, the sign shifts and there's 12 signs, which isn't accurate to what the actual cosmos are and what you would see with a telescope. And so what we use is called true sidereal astrology. And sidereal astrology has the 13 signs and the accurate constellation sizes, because they're not all the same size, as well as the precision, which means as we move around the galaxy where we are currently, because there's always a little adjustment, and we're no longer in the age of Pisces or entering it, which was back in the Jesus times. We're entering the age of Aquarius. We're at the merger here, so everything has adjusted a little bit. The constellations are different sizes, in fact, very much different. Some are very small, some are big, and there are 13 signs, not 12 signs. So a true sidereal astrologist would know what I'm talking about. And so what we were able to do is get human design, what we see as correct with that alignment, and it's called cosmic human design.
Oh, I love that. So I guess I had forgotten about that there was, instead of the 12 signs, there's the 13 signs. So what's an extra sign that is joining us?
So in between Sagittarius and Scorpio, there is a sign called a fucus, and a fucus is commonly left out. And not to get in any kind of, conspiracy here, but it's been left out, and it's a very powerful sign. I mean, it's present, so we're all being affected by it, whether we know it or not. But if you hide it, then it's easier to not allow its strengths to come out. And what a fucus is it's the only sign that's actually not masculine or feminine approach. It does not have a specific trait to it that has a masculine or feminine gear towards it. It's actually like quantum energy. It's the ether. It's spirit. It's actually, in a way, you could say it's a source of where our original creation, our spark of God, comes from. And it's a small sign, and it's right in between. And what it represents kind of is, if you think of Scorpio, and by the way, everyone, I am not an astrologist. I know some astrology. So we have to say this to get to the design, because it's a crucial part. But I know enough to know that in Scorpio, when you're in the underworld, the relation to that, and you're learning from the dark as well. What happens is in Western astrology, it's just tropical, it just pops up to where you're in Sagittarius and you're out telling the world. And you're out, expressing the wisdom and expressing your experience and what's been gained and learned and what's new. And a fucus is about the integration, the embodiment of what you've learned, from the dark side or the underworld or the missing world. So it's about integration. And so true embodiment of what it is, who it is we are, and what it is we exemplify, and what it is we exude to others. So it's really a crucial sign. And it's actually the serpent, but not in the negative way, in the positive way. So these are some of the elements to it. And it's vitally important. That is one of the major ingredients to this cosmic human design that separates it. If you look at all the other human design sites, and there are several where you can plug it in and get the algorithm of your chart, they're all going to be based on tropical. This is the only one that's based on the 13 signs. But so for everyone out there in your signs, 85% of you actually are at least one sign or two signs earlier than you think you are, even in your sun sign, which we're not going to go into today. But most people shift, and like, I'm not a Pisces, and tropical tells me I'm a Pisces, but in sidereal, I'm an Aquarius. I'm a sign earlier. And even if your sun sign doesn't change, your other planets will, your Mercury rising, moon, etc., because you have to tilt the clock and get it correct to what's actually in the cosmos, which makes huge importance of who you really are and how you were, what your imprint is when you came into this world.
Yeah, what I found was so interesting is that in the tropical is the term that you're using, right? Is I was a manifesting generator, and when we did our session in the cosmic, I was a projector, and I wrote down 1 out of 5 people are projectors. So 20% of people are projectors. And what was so fascinating was that there was a lot of things that, like, I was opposite of a manifesting generator. And so I found that fascinating.
Yeah, well, you and many others. I mean, it's a whole new computation. So the tropical based human design is completely being reset here when you do it. So nothing transfers over. Some people actually can remain the same type, like me. I remain the same type. However, all my gene codes, all my genetic attributes change. So everybody will get a completely new chart. You just may perhaps stay the same sign, maybe not. Your intuition or authority may change or not. It's all relative, but it's important because it's a whole new computation of how the cosmos are actually built, and thus what the code is for you. Now, I will say, before we get into, what is this? Because people are still saying, well, what is human design? I'll just say that those of you that do know it, it's not to say this is wrong. I'm not sitting here trying to say, this is the only way. However, I will say that every single person that I have worked with thus far in the past year and a half, as this came true, where we had this opportunity to know ourselves, if they didn't get there immediately, they have all gotten there now, where their spirit is hearing it and feeling it, and the ones that are implementing it are seeing lots of transformation in their life, because it's your true identity instead of a false identity, which really has to do with true time versus false time, the timing of the cosmos that puts us in rhythm and harmony with the universe that wants to help us, or a false time, false matrix parallel reality that can help us try to be someone we're not. And then that creates the ego and collective ego consciousness that many people, or that those of us as humans have been under the spell of before this ascension we're going through.
Yeah, that we're going through right now from the,
right.
We've talked about that or with some of the guests, the 3D to the 5D, and explaining what some of that is at a very light level. So tell us more then about the cosmic human design, if somebody is still like trying to grasp about what it is. Because I know human design I'd written down my little cheat notes here, that it's a blend of 7 different I don't know if the word modality is accurate, but that's how I kind of think about it.
Yeah, so human design is a mix, yep, of about 7 different attributes here. I mean, the major two is astrology, which I've went through the differences here in this
Mhm.
astrology, but astrology, which then imprints the 64 DNA codons or archetypes that human beings have inside of them that we live under. So you have 64 different archetypes that we all have, and then based on astrology, you're either imprinted with a masculine or feminine nature to each one of those 64. So we all have a combination of masculine characteristics and attributes and feminine. Obviously, this has nothing to do with male, female,
Mhm.
nothing. This is transcending it. It's the principle of some are conditioning, where we are conditioning the world with a masculine trait that is consistent within us, that is a destiny kind of waiting to unfold, that either unfolds in a low frequency or a higher frequency or an even higher frequency. And then you have the feminine, which is where you're receptive and you're experiencing conditioning from the world as well as through time of transits. That's another subject because time does change us, just like astrology. The design influence does bring us a collective flavor as we move through time. But in general, it's how you're being conditioned from other people. So you have, where am I being conditioned? And there's good and bad to that, of course. And
Mhm.
then where am I conditioning? And there's good and bad to that. And aside from those two things, it's combined with the Kabbalah, which many of us may have heard of, and the geometry of the Kabbalah. The I Ching is, or I Ching, you hear both pronunciations, are um, it's huge in this. In fact, that's what the gene keys are. So for those of us that have heard of the cosmic gene keys, they're also within this human design code. Then you have quantum mechanics and astrophysics and your chakra system. But I must mention, in design, we are now moving into 9-centered vehicle. So many of us think of chakras as the 7, the 7 major chakras that come up the body. But in design, it teaches us that there are 9 centers that make us whole. And for those of us that are aware of Tesla, for example, and his 369, and we look at what those numbers mean, 9 is the all, 9 is the God principle. So it makes sense that we have 9 centers inside of us that have different characteristics. And so what happens is you have a certain masculine, here, and a feminine here and whatnot. And let's say 2 masculine or conditioning center gates, DNA, connect your DNA. If they connect from one chakra or center or portal to another, then that forms a channel. And then if you have this channel of consistent energy, it lights up the chakras and causes them to become masculine in nature. So when you look at it, you'll see 9 centers that are either feminine or masculine in nature. And then you'll see the 64 gates that are either feminine and masculine in nature. And this is a lot of words to intro to this. But what it moves into then is through that connection point, then it forms the different types, strategies, characteristics, and everything else that you get into within human design. But they originate from how your DNA is situated, your sequence, where do you have it, or where are you in the void, so to speak. And so we all have a different sequence, and there's more combinations than there are people on the planet. So everybody has their own unique human design. And what it means, well, it means within all that, it's you see your physical body, just like we see the visible universe with our spectrum of light from our eyes that we can see. There's a lot we cannot see. Well, in your flesh and blood, and what we see in our genetic predispositions, behind the scenes in the quantum world and behind the scenes in the invisible world, you have a sequence that causes you to be the physical being that you are, that causes you to think the way you may think, that causes you to feel the way you may feel, and it's all original to you. And so what design is showing you is kind of like almost the 5D in a way. It's not accurate, but let's say, what is my higher dimensional vehicle behind the physical? And what are the quantum mechanics of how I can live by to function not only with the universe, but with other people in more harmony, in a way that's more quantum, in the sense of being able to manifest at an easier, quicker way? And where is my intuition? So how specifically do I arrive at this inner knowing or feeling that I have that isn't anything to do with your mind and mental thoughts?
Wow. That was a lot that was a lot to absorb.
Yeah, we can break
For
it.
people.
We can get simple
Yeah.
now.
Well, what's always so, I heard this analogy recently when we're talking about concepts that seem like, for those who are trying to connect it with their logical brain, was that, of something that they don't quite understand, like this energy or the quantum physics, is that, we breathe and we don't see the oxygen. So why wouldn't you think, if you know that you breathe every day, and if you don't, we know what happens there. Well, then how can you not believe that there's something else behind us or other
Exactly.
things?
That leads me into something I need to mention at the beginning of this design talk too, is that there is so much, I think we all can agree, there's so much more that we don't know than we know.
Yeah.
There is
Mm-hmm.
way more that we don't know. Okay. So also within our psyche, our conscious mind knows very little of what's going on as far as our overall patterning of creation and manifestation and, even behaviors and
Mm-hmm.
why we think the way we do. So design isn't based on just your personality structure, which is what all systems that have a birthday, like I'm born February 21st, so that means I'm this, right? They're all based on the birthday. And in design, that's only your personality. Design has another birthday, so to speak, which is around 88 days before your birth, which is the science behind this, which is where the baby actually becomes conscious of itself. I mean, the baby is aware that it's alive and hears music and moves its body and many other things long before it comes out of the mother's womb.
Mm-hmm.
And so in design, this is when you take on, you inherit or imprint with your subconscious self. So below the iceberg, that you cannot see. And so what design shows you is the mechanics of your design in how your body and subconscious function and thrive and have a destiny, as well as your conscious personality self. And so there's two sides to this, which then morph together so that you can see, well, this is why I think the way I think and why I have these goals. And this is what I'm here to do here. But also, this is how my body functions well. This is what makes me healthy. This is what my inner purpose is. This is what appeases my subconscious mind and things like this, which I've not found in any other system up to this point. So that's why 12 years ago, I basically said, all right, I got to go with this because it really brings in something I think very new to the planet. And now, since we have it in the correct astrology, I feel that we're really getting our soul song, if you want to look at it this way,
Mm-hmm.
we're getting our it's a map, it's a light map of what you came in your DNA to vibrate as. And I think we should get down to some basics now, probably.
Yeah. Well, what's so interesting about that is that I think it's well known now is that not only are we moving from 3D to 5D, whether people understand that or not, is that the earth itself is shifting. Mother Earth is shifting. Now, as we tape this, it's the end, it's early fall. And where I grew up in San Jose, California, it's 111 today. Okay. When I grew up there, a hot day was 90. Like it is like it's blowing the state up, right? Like Northern California is like on fire, literally on fire as we record this. But there's so much changes with the weather. Like it's obvious that the earth is shifting where it's going. So it would make sense if I'm in that frame of mind for myself, that of course the cosmics have other things are shifting.
Oh, yeah.
that we just don't know yet of, and that science will come back and say something about. But so I want to hear some basics. Let's get some basics for those who are like, what? So hang on, listeners. We're going to get some basics here for you to be able to grasp this concept, because there's some really beautiful things that we're going to talk about manifestation that's based upon what Jared's going to share with us.
Yeah. So the first thing I should mention you'll need to do is go to cosmichumandesign.com. I know we'll provide some links later on, but cosmichumandesign.com is the only place that you can access this astrology that I'm speaking to. And when you do it, make sure you adjust for UTC time, everybody. there's too many time zones in the world to plug into the algorithm right now. It is accurate, but you just have to adjust your time to what it would be UTC time. And we have a link up there that helps you to do it. You can Google it and helps you to do it. That's a necessary thing because things can change in a matter of a few hours. So if your birth time's a little off, you'll want to really try to know what it is, look it up, and make sure you have it adjusted. So just wanted to say that first, but let's say you got your chart. Now, the first thing everyone looks at is the types. And so what I'm going to go through today is a brief synapse of what I would say is like your oxygen, water, sleep, and food. The things that really matter, because you can study design for eons and still have more to go. It is a very complex thing that can go forever and ever into depths of specifics. But these things to me is worth 80% of the power. 20% of the information is really worth 80% of the power. And when I say power, we should say it helps you jump time. So in other words, manifest quicker, past logic, more in the quantum field. It also helps you conserve energy or, be efficient with your energy. And the other major thing that it does is it helps you avoid unnecessary stress and conflicts in your relationships. Especially when, you and a loved one or a close one may understand certain basics of one another. It can help you really function and be in synergy through your differences and through your similarities. So it helps with relationships, it helps with your energy levels, and of course, it's going to help with your manifestation or your creation of the life that you intend on as a whole. And number one is the types. So everybody looks at their types, right? And there are 5 types of people on the planet. And the first type that we'll mention is called the generator, and that is 37% of the world. And generators, first and foremost, why you're a generator? Because your sacral or sex chakra, it's the second one up on the chart, is defined. It's masculine in nature in the sense that it's consistent. And so you have a pump that's constantly running that can build your own doing energy. It's the life force. So the life force energy is consistent within generators. And so what that actually means in practicality is your gut leads your way in everything. So your gut is really your compass. So when you hear people talk about a gut instinct, this actually is cliche to generators because you do have a physical sensation that will tell you yes or no. Do I apply energy? Do I not? Is it right for me? Is it not? And so the sacral is vitally important with the generator, but also not to reach and try to make life happen. Not to try to manifest life to happen, like force it in the external, like work, figure it out, plow your way through it. If a generator does that, you're actually pushing things away. You're putting out a condition that's actually pushing away what the universe is attempting to bring to you. If you think about the word law of attraction, that phrase, generators aren't designed to push. They're designed to be a pump that pulls everything into their field. So when you pull everything into when you know that you're doing that, what's the sense in reaching? It's just being who you are. You'll attract it in, and then as it comes to you, then your gut will say yes or no. And if the gut says yes, then a generator is designed to go steam ahead and be a builder, a doer, and they call generators sustainers, but not necessarily initiators. Let life come to you. When the light turns green, for example, you go. And it's important for generators to really be exerting their energy kinetically, physically, but doing the things that really fulfill them and really get their energy out in the correct way. So you generators out there, really, you want to get in alignment of where your passions are, and then also be in alignment of what has come to me in life that was a yes versus where am I trying to force and pushing too hard or putting energy into things that really aren't for me. That's when the generator will feel what they say is called frustration. That's your not self. Your not self will be feeling frustrated physically and psychologically as to where the good side or the true self that you are is going to feel satisfaction. It's going to feel satisfied because you're exerting your energy and accomplishing the things that you wish to accomplish, which are really ongoing. It's a sustaining quality to build, to do, to keep going. And so in a nutshell, there's your generator.
The generator. Yeah. So they need to really listen to their gut.
Yeah. And let life come to them.
Yeah.
Yep. And before we move to the next type, which we'll get into the manifester type, for me, my background is in manifestation, also without any identity, anyone. So for me, you have an invisible world inside of you, and then you have the visible world outside of you. And so we all can manifest, and we all want to magnetize and create and visualize, attract what we want to experience in life. What we're speaking to here is in the journey of time, or how you see the world outside of you and how you perceive time. The generators will come to you. So you put it out to the universe, you've set your intentions, you're in your motion, but the things will come to you. Now, the manifester quality, which we have to go to next, is only 9% of the world. And manifestors are designed to be initiators, innovators, open up doorways, begin things, spark things. Now, the gift is manifestors don't need a stimulus as much as the others. So the other 90% roughly, now remember everybody, this is rough. You got to get into your individuality because there's so many aspects to this. But at its source, manifestors really are the only ones that kind of like are designed to plow the way, just with your will, go after what you want without, allowing as much or any trigger. And what you do is you open up doorways and you cause new things to manifest, new potentials to manifest, maybe things that manifest that aren't even existent yet in the world, which when people think of law of attraction, you're attracting something that already exists. And manifestors have the quality, which we all do, but I'm speaking in regards to quantum mechanics, to initiate new things into the world or be able to make changes, and adjust. Now, what you don't have is the consistent energy that a generator has. So you're going to have energy to do it, and then you're not. And so you're not going to keep up, or you're not designed to work as consistently as a generator would be. You're designed to, work efficiently, smart, and put your energy into things. And then kind of when it's not there, allow it to come back around when the time's right, or allow other people to support you. And the manifestor strategy, which is also very different than the other types, is, again, it's not a response thing or an invitation thing. It's an informing action. So if it's just for you, you don't want to say anything to anyone. This is something I call excess potential in manifestation. A lot of people will get excited because things are happening and synchronicities are lining up, and then they go and express it. And then lots of spells happen and lots of things start to shift. And you're better off kind of allowing the manifestation to actualize before, in general, you start telling everybody about it. So for a manifestor, same thing remains true. If it's just you and only you're involved, you don't say a lot, kind of only, if people are involved with you. And here's the thing with the manifestor, though. If someone's going to be impacted by the actions you're taking or by the choices you're making, then you need to inform those ahead of time before you do it. If you don't, you'll run into resistance. And the other design types or people haven't had a chance to prepare themselves or do whatever it is they do to align with it. And it all depends on their type as well. So initiate for yourself, fine. But if people are directly going to be impacted, you're designed not for permission, but to inform so that there can be an alignment and so that the other people in your life can be prepared. Otherwise, they're going to be perceived as arrogant and egocentric. People could be jealous, and again, I'm summing this up in a couple minutes each, but there's some basics.
Well, that's a key thing to help people who are listening in relationship. Like, no matter what it is, whether it's a work, or, professional or home or romantic or even a friendship, right? Or partners went off doing something that's kind of critical to be able to help your relationships, understanding each other's type. So that's a really good tip.
Absolutely. Yep. And so again, we all manifest and we all have energy, right? But this is quantum mechanics of how we want to approach the universe. So what we're going to come to next is what's called the manifesting generator, which is what I am personally. And it's a mix between the two. And again, it's going to depend on your specifics. There's many forms of manifesting generator. But if I, attempt to sum it up, it's like a generator, except you're designed to sprint instead of jog, so you're going to kind of like when you get a trigger, you want to make sure that it's right. You want to extra pause as a manifesting generator. you really want to make sure it's right. It's almost like you visualize it or feel it before you do it to make sure, because once you start, you're not going to stop, and you become a manifester with generator energy. So it's a quantum leap. So you want it to be in the good way instead of maybe in the not so good way. So you take a pause, and if it's right, then you just kind of go. You're designed to kind of skip steps, and jump ahead and grab things that are new, may not be quite linear, and then trust in life that life will bring you support, or you'll end up going back to those other steps that get you towards where you want to go. So you MGs out there need to be comfortable with jumps, but you also want to be comfortable with like just a little bit of a pause before you just automatically thrust yourself forward. You are the generator in the sense that you want life to come to you first. So life comes, but then once you get that gut impulse, you're not just engaging it, you're engaging it with initiating, manifestor, changing quality. So this is where you turn into the hybrid. Designed to more multitask a little bit, but not too much. Some manifesting generators can try to, including myself, can try to do too many things. So you want to condense into the things that really matter, but you're not designed really to work rationally or linearly. So you might jump around, and you have the ability to do so. You just, again, want to make sure that it's correct for you. You're in alignment with who you are. You're intuitive about it. And then also, if people are involved and you're making changes, you're also designed to inform only if they're immediately impacted.
So how about a manifesting generator with their energy? Because the generator's energy is different than the manifesting. So
the manifesting generator is a generator. Also, it has the sacral defined. They're the only two. If your sacral is colored, the second one up, which is 70% of the world, because manifesting generators are 33%. 70% is a generator. Then you have that sacral pump and that consistent energy. Now, leads to an important concept is what makes a manifestor, not a projector per se, which we're about to get to, is that a manifestor has a consistent channel to the throat. So in human design, everything manifests through the throat, whether from below or above. And you think about it in the Bible, let there be light. The Hindus, in their chants and talking about the power of sound, and this is what I do and talk about manifestation, everything inevitably comes back to sound. And so you think about your voice and your deed all comes through the throat. Well, you manifestors have a channel that directly accesses the throat. And manifesting generators would have both. So you have the sacral pump and you have a direct access consistently to the throat. And that's what causes you to be a manifesting generator. Now, this is, again, everybody, about consistency. We all feel everything. We all go through all the dynamics. It's just about what is consistently mine or what is borrowed from other people or what is borrowed by the time we're in. So then that gives us a unique flavor, which I think leads perfectly to projectors, which we know you are.
Yeah, I am now.
Well, this is what I'm saying through Cosmic Lens. Yep, you are. There was a projector here, and projectors represent 20% of the world. So, it is the third most common of the types. And in a way, you could say the average person, 1 in 5 by the types. And a projector has the sacral undefined, like the manifestor, but she or he doesn't have the consistent access to the throat. Okay. So this makes you a completely different dynamic than anything else I've said. Where projector's real skill set is evaluating, directing, guiding, seeing into other people's energy, being able to help guide the efficiency and the direction in life of other people, help with self-reflection, be a mirror for people. Now, again, there's multiple types of projectors. So this is way too specific here. Or general, I should say. This is too general. But projectors have these qualities of guides and managers and overseers. And what you benefit from the generators and manifesting generators is the life force energy. So you are absorbing the energy from many of the people that it's around you. And so you will feel at times that you have all this energy and then it will run out. and you're not designed to work consistently. In fact, projectors are not designed to quote unquote work hard. That will run you out. You're designed to work intelligently and smartly and efficiently and have support around you. In all honesty, have support around you with whatever it is that you're working on. But the strategy with the projector is to be invited into your direction. If you want to go into someone else's world and give them ideas of what you see that could be adjusted or what's going on right or wrong or a new change, if a projector does it, your aura, because a projector's aura actually is kind of like a teardrop going into other people's designs. So when the invitation is there and the person's available, wow, it just, but if the invitation's not there, then they're either not going to get it, not going to like it, or it's not time. And you're getting in the way of, you could call it God's timing, or experiences that they need to go through before they arrive at a certain epiphany, or other things they need to gather or manifest, such as the manifester. So it's kind of being patient. We recommend projectors not just be, waiting to be invited, but also be actively observing. So you'll be very skilled at paying attention, seeing the patterns, seeing what's going on. But until the doorway really is open and they're available, you don't push your way in. Now, same thing goes within manifestation of all things, in the sense that you can enter into things differently. Of course, there's lots of, we can't get too limited with this. However, large manifestations will occur for a projector when they're putting their attention out, doing their work on their path, and then they're invited into something through a human conduit. It can be something direct or indirect, but a physical human will come in and kind of open you up to either a new group or a new experience or whatever else. And so projectors, you really want to be patient. Less is more. Quality is more important than quantity. And you don't need to say yes to everything or try to make everything happen. Be patient and build, and they will come. Kind of like prepare, act as if it's already here, but do not have expectation or try to force your way in. The universe is going to pop you in a scenario where then you're going to fit right in. You're going to be able to, do your thing. Last thing I'll mention on projectors from my end is that you also want to realize that what I'm saying is about your entrance into other people's worlds or the field. Now, what if someone's doing something to you that you're not feeling comfortable with, or you don't need to wait. This is a different thing. If you're being inhibited, and I get this all the time for projectors, no, I don't want to say protect yourself, but that's, be truthful for you, have your boundaries. You don't need to wait to speak about something that you want to adjust or change. What this is about is if you're seeing it in someone else and you're kind of wanting to get your nose in there to them, that's when you want to kind of wait until they're actually ready or willing or wanting that support.
I have a short question for that. When you said for the receiving, because it affects, I think, multiple people other than projectors, is that it's direct or indirect. So direct is, the person, but what's indirect?
I guess what I mean is, it might be an obvious invitation into something, like, wow, Sally told me about this and this was the greatest thing ever for me, or this group invited me in. Or it could be just a human mentions something and it rings a bell and then you're there. Oh. The idea, and I know it's very unique, and it's not to limit you, it's just as an overall general principle, the universe will invite you in through a human conduit. So you don't, again, want to try to push, like the generators, like want to try to insert yourself in. You call it to you. And as to where a generator has many stimuluses that could trigger it, all kinds of things. Projector is more based on value of the interaction or value of the person or value of the situation that will kind of like open the door. So a lot of what you're doing is like building yourself up to then be brought to who's going to benefit from it and who's going to be in, it's not trying to build it up yourself as much.
So if I understand it correctly, is that with what you just shared was that, so if I'm listening to, say, a podcast, right? We're on a podcast and I hear them all of a sudden, they're talking about this book. Maybe it's some new book that's out. And I thought, oh, that sounds kind of interesting. And then, later that day or the next day, I'm talking to somebody and they're talking about, and maybe it's not a brand new book, right? It's some random book. All of a sudden everybody's talking about the four agreements or something. And it's like, okay, you need to go read the four agreements again or go pick it up. Is that kind of like, it's kind of a silly example, but
No, it's a good example. I mean, that's synchronistic also,
uh-huh.
but which is it's a conversation on manifestation for sure. But I believe that's a good example. Yeah. And, it's, again, with all these things, this is why I love teaching about energy, frequency, and vibration without any identities, everyone, like
Mhm.
without any limits. However, I am in a physical body. I cannot have a woman. I'm a man. Or have a baby. I'm a man, right? I
Uh-huh.
can't have a baby due to my genetics. So
Yeah.
we have genetic predispositions and we have a suit that we came in with to function at its greatest state, And so we are subject to what we wanted. I mean, before you came here, this is your way, even if we don't remember it quite yet. This is our way and comes with that certain dynamics. But I, at the same time, don't want anybody to get too mental about, well, I can't do it because of this and this. Don't try to analyze too much. What the idea of design and gene keys is, and this is just a very intro to it, but it's to get you into the feeling state and to let your body lead the way and let your body manifest. And when you learn certain basics, they become the new program. It becomes easy. You don't have to think about it. And you'll start to notice if you look back, oh, that happened and that happened in my life. And it's right in my design and it worked awesome. And then you can start applying it and you'll see, certain characteristics that might be correct for you. And I
Oh.
know I'm not
Mhm.
answering so fluidly.
No, actually
So
that makes
that's
sense. So if you look back, if any of the listeners can look back of a time where things seem to be in the flow and take what you're saying and apply that and say, oh, was I in the flow? Why did things come so easy? Why did they manifest so easy? Things that I was pulling in or creating, and compare it to what you've just shared. It might give some insights for people to realize, oh, yeah, I'd kind of given up on something. I let it go, and all of a sudden it was all there
yeah.
because I wasn't, banging down the door, because that's not really in the charts, the, cosmic human design charts. So that kind of is a segue then into manifestation.
Yes.
And I can't wait to hear what you have to say about manifestation.
Yeah. Okay. So let me say this to you reflectors out there. There is a fifth type in design,
Oh,
and it's less than 1% of the world. And it's a completely feminine principle of the centers. And so I just want to not exclude you, but say this means you're designed to be like the projector's projector. You're really a reflection of the world around you, and you really amplify other people's energy, and you can help guide and direct people too. And you're designed to really kind of act in surprise, so really be in the element of the unknown. And without spending too much time, because it's less than 1 in 100 people, just wanted to,
not forget about
no,
them
I did,
like
I
I
did
just
not.
did. Hey, forget about the reflector. I want to know who
Yeah.
my reflectors are and my listeners. So sorry about that, reflectors.
Yes, you're incredibly awesome. I have some amazing, valuable people in my life that are reflectors. You have such an unbelievable gift. But if anyone wants to learn their design, when you find out you're a reflector, it's important you do, because you're built so different. So you want to take a look at that. Okay. And now let's get in. Now
Yeah.
I didn't leave them out.
Yeah. And then I will also make sure that I put in the show notes. I'm going to mention it again. We're going to put the link so that people can go run it for themselves to get
Yes.
that. Okay.
Yep. Cosmic Human Design. And that's where you'll also
Mhm.
access your cosmic gene keys. So for those of you that heard of the gene keys, it goes right along with design. I kind of call design the father and gene keys the mother. They go together. It's vitally important. And when you check out your gene keys, which you can see in your design chart, and this is what I do with my clients, is we go through a path of looking at your gene keys aside from the design mechanics, which there's much more to, like intuition that we didn't even get to. But with your gene keys, you can access what's my life's work. what's my evolutionary gift, what makes me healthy, what's my brand, what's my purpose, and so on and so on. There's a lot more than that, but that's all accessible on the same site there. So enjoy that trip if you haven't gotten into it yet.
Yeah.
It's all there.
Oh, it was fun. I know we got into it with my reading, so it was great. But manifestation.
Yes. So, all right, great. Well, manifestation is a passion of mine that I really started throwing my life into in 2009. I will simplify it in the sense of I had a health condition, and I was aware of when I shifted my attention and how I was thinking in my mind, my health condition that was much of a problem went away. So a challenge helped me realize the power of our thoughts. And then also I was creating, what I wanted. Like miraculous things started happening the more I started, making vision boards and, reading the books about law of attraction and getting more into it. And so this is what made me kind of start the process. And ever since then, for the last 13 years, I'd say that, it's the major reason why I think I'm on this planet. It's what I've been studying and learning. And there's so many ways to look at it. But what I attempt to do, based on learning from an Indian guru that I have, going to India and learning about those techniques, as well as learning I worked with some of the people from the book and movie, The Secret.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have the Western thought, New Age with the ancient. And then I kind of just made it my own, work, with the energies of what we're going to talk about now, along with design and gene keys being like an element that makes you individual. But what matters first is I think these principles, which is we have to realize that we are not our minds, and that we are not our bodies, we are not our emotions, and we are not the world around us. The illusion, the Maya, the experiences we're having, the sensations. What we are is a spirit. And we can control our minds and bodies, or they can control us. And of course, the external is another factor that's conditioning us, especially at this time in the planet. You can see a lot of that going on because information controls perception, which controls behavior. So what you're, sensing and seeing and believing, then you're acting on, you can get swayed from the external into whatever that conditioning influence is wanting to sway you into. And not that conditioning is not healthy, because it is. I'm conditioning you right now by mentioning you my beliefs and my knowledge and my energy. Okay, it's up to you to discern what's right or not for you. However, initially on and of its source, we have the spark of God, or the quantum particle inside of us that creates reality to exist. And when we look at the mind I kind of look at as like a picture, like a library, and in your mind, or in your brain, really, mind is only one part of the brain, but you can access all these different areas and memories, right? You can move around, and a lot of times I'll take people through a practice of the greatest experience of your life and what that felt like. And you can go there, and the longer you're there, the more it pulls up and the more you feel it. Or you can go to the worst experience of your life and see how that felt, and you can go there, and everything else in between. But what's going there? That's your consciousness, which really isn't just, it's consciousness, but it has an energy. So I call it attention. Your attention is different than your mind. And kind of most of us have been brought up to being raised that we are our minds, our thinking, our karma, and we're not. We are a consciousness that has attention, and we can control where we put our attention. And in knowing that, not only can we shift our attention off of the habitual patterns that are negative or limiting, or not comfortable, but and shift them on the positives, right? We can also use that attention to build new neural pathways in the brain, which is what manifestation consciously also is about. You are the one that's the foundational creator of your reality if you build it from the inside out, because everything happens from the inside out through magnetics, right? And people think of law of attraction. Well, it's not even just that. It's literal manifestation, moving thought into form, because of the same thing. And why is because your brain, parts of your brain, such as your pineal gland, okay, in the center and the middle part of your brain, does not know the difference between fantasy and reality. It does not know the difference whatsoever. Okay. There are other parts of our brain that causes us to identify, see ourselves as separate, break things down, all the other stuff that we could get into. But what we want to get into is the creative part of our brain, which I call the mastermind. What's happened is we've given power to the servant. The servant is our frontal lobe, some of our other cortexes, in which is the executor, and it thinks and it executes and it applies strategy and it learns and things like this. And it's valid, but we've given it the authority, when really it's the servant to what our creativity is, which is the conceiver. Because you cannot manifest anything you cannot conceive of. But if you can conceive of it, now you've started the progression from the midbrain, move it up to a belief, move it up to a knowing. And when you get it to this knowing that it's going to happen, remember, it's nothing external. You want to know that it's happening from the inside. If you look at the Bible, talk about God created heaven and earth, but the plants weren't grown yet. So he rested and watched the plants grow. Okay, that's an example to show you that he knew inside that it was done, but now he was enjoying the experience and the reflection and the journey and nature and the cycles of life. And then it formed. But what he did know was inside that reference point. And so this is what we want to know is we want to believe it before we see it, not see it before we believe it. And that's what the dimensional shift very soon is going to reach us to a point of. We're not going to continue to get more proof to cause us to transform our belief systems. It's going to be based on how we think inside. We're going to realize, hey, if I believe it, then it has a chance to happen. It's not the other way around. And so remember, your conceiver mind is the imaginer, and it's the intuitive mind. The intuition and the conceiver, the highest masculine and feminine exist inside of your midbrain. I'm just using the midbrain as an example, but it's the conscious attention that naturally has the ability to manifest without even trying. It's just whatever you're putting your attention on. You're putting your attention on what you want to do, because I know we don't have forever to talk tonight. So what you want to do is, again, it's opposite of how we think. We're taught to figure out how we're going to get there. When what the masters do is they know that you feel the end result. You dream, imagine the end result, then you're taken to it. So you want to imagine you already have what it is you're wishing for. You imagine that you already are what it is you're going to wish for. And that's what casts the spell in a positive way, which is where spelling comes from, which is all based on sound. Sound waves that you create, whether you're thinking in your mind, think about it, it's a bunch of words, whether you say it out loud, so you want to watch your words a lot, watch your thoughts, but start to put your thoughts for a period of time, which I call going vertical, instead of horizontal or outside of you. It's going vertical to your prayer, to your intention, to your goals, to your manifestation. You stay in the experience, whether it's a visualization. I use writing. This is what I teach people how to do, is how to write your goals as if they're already happening and as if you're already feeling them. It's already there, because it tricks us. Many people think that law of attraction is you manifest what you want. And that's not true. Think of all the things that we want that we don't have. They remain fantasies. They're not actualized. You manifest who you are. So you want to be it in the moment. And not only are you being it, you're knowing it's already there. I'm already feeling it. I'm already mandating it. And then when you're done with that practice, let's say, then you're just out and living. And this is where design mechanics and things can help us as the secondary factor to this. But you're just living. You're not in your mind so much, and you're in trust of life, and you're in the flow, and you're using your intuition and all these things. But the only way that anything can come about is if you're able to conceive it and imagine it, which I want to say is how the universe is created, through imagination, visualization. It's not created by thinking. And we have a lot of thoughts going on that all it does is limit what is possible. We're throwing a condition in of how we're going to get there, and we're limiting ourselves into these boxes instead of using the creative principle of magnetizing, which is really what you're doing, magnetizing the experiences you want to have to you without any preconditions other than this is what I wish to experience, and I feel it now, and I am. And then you will watch it pop up.
I've been this last year or so really devoting a lot more of my time to my morning meditation and an evening meditation. And it's actually a Dr. Joe Dispenza that I've been listening to.
Yeah.
And that I've been using. So it's a guided one, right? That I'm guided, and then you actually see and then feel what that experience is. He does some exercises first to get you to get there, but then you're actually feeling what it's going to be like, that it's already here. And that's how I've been able to, when you're talking about, going straight up versus it's not linear, right?
Mm-hmm.
But is that like when you're talking about prayer and intention and meditation, the journaling, the freestyle journaling, it sounds like, where you're allowing all of those feelings to kind of come through.
Yeah, and literally writing down the dreams and goals you have as if they're happening already. It's like writing a diary to yourself, but it hasn't happened yet, but you know that it already has. So it's writing a diary to yourself of your dreams. So it can be automatic channeling, yes, and flowing, and that's half of the equation. So I utilize that with people and myself. But the other half is defining the qualities. I call it clear. I'm glad we're bringing this up, but clear, concise creation. Remember C3, clear, concise creation. Not too all over the place, too many details. Look at the value of what actually matters and stay to it repetitiously. Stay on that thought, stay on that dream, stay on that equation, and write it over and over and over again. And yes, apply feeling. There's many other dynamics to this. It's too much of it. Too much. We could talk for hours about this every day. But you want to be clear and concise, because if you just flow, and there is release. So of course you can write to let energy out too, of course. But when we're talking creation of the so-called future, there is flow. Yes, that's half the equation. But what river do you want to be on? The Nile or the Amazon? You got to tell the universe what river you're flowing on. So this is a masculine principle of repetition, specifics, consistency to define what it is you're creating, because what you're doing is you are an infinite being. You are an infinite, eternal, multidimensional being which can create anything given the sufficient amount of energy. But, we can be, scattered into not knowing what we want. We can be scattered with our thoughts are all over the place. We need to coalesce it like a laser. So in that moment, let's say, especially morning and night writing or meditation, my thing, those are the prime times. Other than any time is good, but those are the prime times. What you're doing is you're putting all your attention on something specific. You're imagining it, feeling it, and you're doing that as much as you can because that is what's the laser that's putting all that energy into what you want to experience, which then synchronistically, ideally, but at some point in time, relative to how much energy you've given it, how much you believe it, how much you feel worthy of it, which are factors we can go into also, but then you will watch it pop into your life. But we have to get back to our personal power, and the human design and Gene Keys teaches us that victimhood is really the cause shadow of all things. So we are inside out creators. We have all the power. They cannot take it away from us. No one can. If you utilize it, which means time where you don't have distractions. Distraction is the number one thing in the external that already conditions you in your time, in your attention. So you cut that out. It's just you and your God, you and your creator, you and your life force, you and your higher self, however you want to look at it. And you spend more time on imagining that it's like casting a spell in a positive way, that this is what's next in my life, and this is what I'm worthy of, and this is what I'm going to experience, and this is what I'm going to give. And if you can give it more and more time, you will start to bear witness that you are not only the actor, you're the director in this movie. You're the director and you're the actor, and the producer, God, has given you all the resources. You have them all. But you have to be able to settle in and become more of the director, directing the play and then acting in it. Otherwise, we just play out karmic loops, which is what humans have been doing. Karmic loops over and over and over again, because we didn't even touch it in conscious versus subconscious, right, when it gets to here. But the majority of your manifestations and what your life is, your movie in front of you, your television screen, is karmic from patterns from the past, imprints, things that you believe, things that you were told, things that you were taught. And so it's an automatic program. Bruce Lipton talks about this all the time. It's a program running. Your conscious hopes, dreams, desires are you want them, but it's overpowered by this program. So we need to put these conscious wishes, desires, not only out in the moment, but we want to build them into the psyche, into the subconscious, so that you just know where you're going. You just know what's manifesting. It's deep inside, and it's automatic. You know, you're building your dreams inside of you, and then they will come.
Mm-hmm. That was a great explanation. You know, when you're talking and about sending out the vibrations, one of the great things that I loved about it, and you mentioned the movie The Secret, was that they actually kind of showed it, right, for people to conceptually get. When you're forming that thought, you're feeling it, you're very clear and concise, like what you're saying for the creation, and then watching like the little ripples go out to the universe. I think that movie was probably the best representation that I've seen for people to grasp it in a simplistic way, but still very, very powerful with what we're talking about here, with being able to manifest. So for somebody who hasn't watched that movie, I'll put that in the show notes too, because if you haven't watched this movie, even though it's been a few years now, it's really good, I think, for giving the visuals of what you're talking about.
And a ripple is that's a beautiful example. It's the answer. It's a vibration. You know, as Nikola Tesla has taught us, everything is energy, frequency, and vibration, which also is the 369, which also is the triangle that we're talking about. Imagining from here, and then letting the left and right hemispheres of the brain in the yin and the yang work their magic in manifestation to give birth to the baby. But it comes from the top here, and what it is a sound wave, and it emanates from us always. But when we're consciously attracting or magnetizing, you're putting out ripples, like if you threw a rock in the water and you watch how it spreads. And the more you put out those thoughts and those vibrations and those emotions, they're all vibrations, you're causing that to become your reality. So if you think about the last analogy perhaps, but if you think about a remote control in a TV, the remote control is your mind, body, and emotions. There's more, but let's just say it's that. The TV is a frequency station that you can change, and you get a whole new world. The world outside of you being the TV. You can change the station, but not from the remote. The remote's not doing it if it's just laying there. So it's not from your mind, your body, and emotions. You are the spirit behind it. You've had many, many experiences on a lot of different planes throughout eternity, and we're remembering this. And when we control the remote, hey, think the way I want to think, change my thoughts, change my feelings, transform my body, and get in alignment with where I want to go, the TV will change. You know, but you have to become the person behind the remote. And often law of attraction, manifestation, and even ways that I think I taught it in the past, they're too much mind-based or even emotional. Those are all parts of the equation, but you have to realize that you have the creator spark and that you want to create from the moment. Every moment is new, you're fresh, and then you want to go as infinite in feeling as you can. And just stay like a child. Stay in that imagination of what you lust for, what your purpose is, what you want to give. And just imagine that that's what's happening. I deserve it. I've earned it. I'm willing to give it. I want to experience it. And the more you do so, the more you will deprogram the false matrix that's controlling us, or the karmic patterns that we have built inside. And we can actually stop going on loop on the videotape. We can actually start moving forward consciously on what we want to experience in life.
Which I think the next question that easily comes is, what if you're like, somebody's like, a listener's like, oh my gosh, I'm keep repeating Groundhog Day, this cosmic loop of what's happening. Maybe the outside looks a little different, but why do I keep getting stuck?
Yep. And that's
right.
It's first of all, the key is awareness first. So even being aware of that is a step. Let's say this too. Most people, and those of us awakening, we're so immersed in the external, and we're immersed in our thinking, and we're immersed in our emotions, and we can get lost where we don't settle it. The point of meditation is largely to create a space hey, there's my mind over here, here's my emotions over here, here's my body here, but here I am, and you pause from all the stuff going on. So it's awareness. And so to have awareness of the patterns, I think is beautiful. That's the first step. But then when you say, why are they happening? Well, that's called karma. That's the subconscious program that if you don't adjust it, it will just continue to do it. Gurus will teach you. My guru will teach us that, if your subconscious mind is blocked, or if you have bad karma, what they'll call it, nothing will change. The characters will change. The situations will look a little different, but they'll be pretty much the same things. And it's not good or bad. It's just, this is the overwhelming patterning of our vibrations in our cellular memories and in our brain neural pathways, and on and on and on. So we want to take a step out is first awareness. Hey, I'm not this stuff out here. Okay, I'm centered. I'm connected to my spirit, my higher self. I've learned some lessons here, and that's great. No more do I wish for these experiences. This is when Esther Hicks and Abraham can kick in with the contrast. She's always talking about we're here to learn in the contrast. Oftentimes we learn what we want through what we don't want. That's a vital time to look at, hey, this isn't working. But if I continue to get mad at it or fight it or avoid it, it's going to continue. So why don't I just flip it and say, well, this is what I actually want. And now focus my attention on that, so that, in her words or their words, I'll actually get what I'm wanting, not just what I'm observing. Because you'll continue to get what you observe until you put your energy on what it is you wish to create. And oftentimes it's flipping what you don't want anymore, and it's giving you clarity to define what's next for you. And then you can get like a slingshot. You can go through many, many challenges of intensity, gain awareness, flip it in a neutral way, create what you do want. Yes. And then bang, you'll watch just as challenging as all that was, you'll get everything you want in that next chapter. And of course, even there, you're going to have other things. Oh, wait a minute, I don't like that part. And then it goes and goes and goes. But we don't want to be stuck into the same patterning. We want to be able to break through and evolve, upgrade the frequency of our experience, and expand in abundance of all things. And the only way to do it is from the inside out. Reading books and watching speakers, even like me right now, there's only so much that can do. That's all to help each other. But inevitably, it has to come back to you and your time and where you put it.
Completely hands-on agree. In fact, that's why this podcast, the Light Up Your Worth podcast for the listeners, has a mix of, different types of coaches. So you can learn something in the subconscious, really to learn some awareness, to start identifying your own patterns. And then there's the mix of those. And that's either through the books or the different types of coaches we've had. And the different type of energetic, I call them energetic healing arts, different healing modalities that work in the subconscious brain.
Yeah.
That's really why it's the combination of them, for those awareness, and to connect people who aren't so familiar with why all of us are talking about our subconscious. Why,
yes.
But even psychologists talk about the subconscious, all the behaviors and the patterns we picked up before we were 7, or even those 88 days before we were birthed into the world, like how much stuff we're picking up through that DNA, all the generational
ancestral
trauma,
thoughts,
all those ancestral stuff that just keep getting carried on, and why we're all doing this work. So that was beautiful, the way you kind of blended it all in, of how we're going to take manifesting with those 3 C's, clear, consent, creation, with the tools of like the cosmic, human design, and getting that awareness of how they can work together.
Yes.
Super powerful.
Thank you.
Wow.
And I just want to say, I like to always see things in 3s. The mind, it's helpful even in your manifestation. Break things into 3 of the major qualities of what it is you're creating. Think about that too. But when you mention manifestation as a spirit, yes, then our cosmic design and the mechanics. The third thing I want to mention, and the key, and it's the key with design. In our design, there's something called our authority, which we didn't get to, but let's just call it your pure intuition. Like intuition on steroids. We need to listen to our intuition. That is the way out. if we continue to listen to logic, rationalization that is based on limit and fear especially, you can't bust through these walls. Your intuition will guide you through. And I just encourage people to have the faith, first listen to it, trust it, but then you have to act on it. And it requires courage and faith to do that. You know, this is where another one of our parents, the mother of faith and the courage of the father, come in.
Mhm.
You have to get out of the comfort zone. If you remain in the comfort zone, you stay in the bubble. And so your intuition and your faith in yourself and in your creator can break through all of the logic of this is how it's supposed to be, or I don't have enough money, or this person's going to be upset, all these things that flow through our mind. If your intuition says to do it, do it. If your intuition says no, don't. That's another one of the primordial aspects of our brain that connects us to the God particle, is we can sense it without seeing it or knowing all the analytics. And we can step into this new earth, which is what cosmic design is designed to do too, get us back in rhythm with the cosmos, so that the universe is helping us and not against us. And the universe is abundant, it's not in lack. And the universe is one, it's not separate. And the universe is inside out, not outside in. And so your faith and your courage and your intuition to follow your dreams that you're setting intentions of, along with learning some of your design mechanics, can really help you. And this is what I call Fast Track Your Dream Life, which is my coaching program that I work on. And those are some of the major principles I feel like help everybody. But on a practical level too, it sounds very, you know, some of the design talk at first can be like, what is he saying? And it sounds, you know, complex. You want to break things down because simple is usually the answer, you know, and there are simple adjustments and changes with your time and your attention and how you think that can change your life in weeks, you know, let alone years.
Yeah, you know, I've been getting this intuition. My authority is emotional. I just have it. I have my chart right here, guys. So just in case I needed it. But the authority is emotional. So what I've been actually feeling, this emotion, right, is as these certain things about the podcast, like this big, you know, the amount of people we're able to serve, the people who want to serve the podcast, the people who want to support it in different ways, you know, the monetary part of it, the listening part of it, the sharing. And it's been so strong. It's already here. It's already here. I can feel it. And when I say it, you can feel it. Like you can, like it's so strong and it's so in line with, you know, these concepts that you're talking about, you know, everything, this whole feeling. I had forgotten about the authority. So I'm glad you mentioned it, because I was like, oh yeah, I may have been able to connect it. And it has the three major qualities about it, you know, of who we want to serve and, you know, getting really clear and consistent to create it with these three qualities. So I love how that just all kind of wrapped up, you know, like was able to kind of like tie it all together. It's really fascinating. So on your program that you're talking about, your Fast Track Your Dream Life, you bring all of this into some practical ways and hold people's hand through it to
we slow down, you know, one thing at a time and go dive into this. Some people do it once, they just want to, you know, jump. And I have some people that have been with me for years, weekly, and are building, you know, their own dreams. So there's variation, there are packages. And so if you want to do a few, you want to do one, or you want to, you know, jump in and do several months, it's all up to you. And I have a sequence, of course, but at the same time also flow and be spontaneous of what shows up in the moment, you know, so our egos don't get in the way, you know, so that we allow what needs to happen or wants to happen to come out. And that's my life. That's what I do every single day, is work on people's charts and build their dreams, aside from what's behind me.
Your Rise TV.
Which I wanted to share with people too. I know we are going to have some links. The easiest way to access me is I'm old fashioned with email. So Jarin@jarinkenyon.com is my email. We'll post some other links, some sites and whatnot, but that's the easiest way to reach me. But you can also go other areas. Something that's near and dear to my heart, aside from just my own practices of teaching, is Rise, which you can find on Rumble, which is Rise Evolution. We're going to provide that link too. We interview wonderful guests. We are growing. The guests are growing, very known, aware people, where you'll learn all kinds of different things, different ideologies and different storylines and whatnot within the ascension. We call it the family of light kind of emerging here together so we can all share our talents. And I'm a co-host with 2 others, and I'm on every one of those shows, and I have segments of which I do some of this kind of teaching that I did here tonight. And so you can access all kinds of stuff on the Rumble, on Rise Evolution. There's also a Telegram link we're going to give you, and there's some other things. The Cosmic Human Design podcast is also on that Rise Evolution on Rumble. Mm-hmm. And so you can access a lot of my stuff as well there, as well as meet with other, people that I really look up to, and we're all kind of getting the information out as we can.
Yeah. Well, I can't wait to share all of that. And of course, it'll be all in the show notes. And I'm just so excited. I learned a lot today, and I know our listeners did too. So thanks for being our second male here. This has just been, this has been a really very practical knowledge base. I've really been able to blend some of the science with stuff that people have heard about and bringing it all together. So thank you
for having me on.
Chasing you down, right? No.
Yes, I really appreciate it. Yes, it's wonderful. I'm so glad to be here, and I wish everybody out there well on their ascension journey, and I look forward to future endeavors with you, Deborah.
Yeah, thank you. If you enjoyed this Light Up Your Worth episode, be sure to share with a soulful friend who needs to hear this message. Thanks so much for listening and being part of the Light Up Your Worth community. My heart is full of gratitude for you. You are my inspiration to shine the light of spiritual, heart-centered women. Now go out there and shine your own light. Sending you sunshine.